Welcome to King's Creatures Animal Training. I'm Laura King, and I'm here to help you train your dogs and cats to be therapy animals and adventure pets. Since it is September, and I'm guessing that almost all of your kiddos are back in school, I figured this would be a great theme for the month, back to school, so that we can focus on something incredibly important, educating the public as part of your role as a therapy animal handler team, or really just as a responsible pet owner. This month, we're going to be diving into how it can make a difference, not just through therapy animal visits, but also through spreading knowledge. As your kiddos head back to school, it's a great time to remind ourselves that education is not just for the classroom. As therapy animal handler teams, one of our biggest responsibilities is to educate those we meet about our therapy animals' work, our pets, and how to interact with all animals appropriately. Today, we're also going to touch on a crucial aspect of education as a therapy animal handler, understanding the differences between therapy animals, emotional support animals, and service animals. This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves because there's a lot of misunderstandings there. And for the people that just don't understand the difference, that's not so annoying. We can educate them and they're going to know the difference. But there are people willfully spreading misinformation about claiming your pet as a therapy animal or even as an emotional support animal when it's not legal to do so. Paying for certifications for emotional support animals and service animals when they're not legally required. All of this just comes down to a big old money grab, taking advantage of the uninformed. So the more that we can do to spread the word about what is the difference between therapy animals, emotional support animals, and service animals, the more we can help everyone involved in all of those worlds. So if you have a therapy animal or a therapy animal in training, you will almost certainly run into opportunities for this. Generally, when someone sees a dog or cat out and about wearing a vest, they assume it's a working animal, probably a service animal, because that's what we've learned the most about probably in the past, although therapy animals are certainly on the rise in popularity. So a lot of times they'll say, oh, that dog's in a vest, we can't pet him or her. And that's an opportunity for us to say, actually, this is a therapy animal. Therapy animals provide comfort and support to people in hospitals, schools, and other settings, and they're trained to interact with you. So you are welcome to pet. It's Cora's whole job, and she loves it so much, right? That's how I usually go about it. She is a fan of being pet, and it's her whole job just to show you love and get loved by you, right? So explaining that can help them to understand that there are different animals wearing vests out there. They're not all service animals. Now, we do want to clarify that they're not a service animal, and sometimes there may be confusion over that. So especially if you're first reaching out to a facility to get permission to visit with your therapy animal, right, there's a difference, right? Service animals have public access. They're allowed anywhere the public is allowed. Therapy animals, we have to get permission to visit places that aren't traditionally pet friendly. For example, schools, hospitals, and things like that. So when we reach out to those facilities, a lot of times the event coordinator or volunteer coordinator, whoever it is that you're going to be interacting with, may call your therapy animal a service animal. Great opportunity to say, actually, service animals are different. They are defined under the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they are trained specifically to perform a task or multiple tasks to mitigate the handler's disability. Service animals can only be dogs or mini horses. There's no other approved type of animal. So monkeys, cats, you'll hear all sorts of things about service animals. It really can only be dogs and in some cases miniature horses. So that's a great opportunity to just educate that person right then and there on the difference. And then while you're on your visit, if someone calls your therapy animal a service animal, it's always an opportunity to educate. We want to do it in a kind and loving way, not saying, this isn't a service animal, what are you talking about, right? We want to be compassionate. That's what therapy animal work is all about. But it's so important to distinguish the difference between the two because there is a big one, several big ones, and it's important that people know that. So feel free to educate on that. And then our third type of common working animal here in the United States are emotional support animals. These animals don't have any required training, although I highly recommend aiming for at least Canine Good Citizen if you have an emotional support animal, because they do not have the same access rights as service animals, right? They're not allowed out in public, but they do get access to rentals, some rentals, there's a lot of specifications there, that aren't pet friendly. So maybe you're living in a dorm or an apartment that's not pet friendly, and if you have a disability that's directly mitigated just by the presence of your pet, then that pet would qualify as an emotional support animal with a prescription essentially from your doctor. So there are some things that have to happen for your pet to qualify as an emotional support animal, but they don't need to have any specific sort of training. They don't have to perform tasks. They just help mitigate your disability by being present with you. So we want to make sure we know that as well, because there's a lot of misinformation out there about emotional support animals. People will pay money online for certifications for them that they don't need. But remember, you're being invited into housing that isn't pet friendly now with an animal. So we want to make sure they are well behaved, they're not destructive, so you're not creating issues for future tenants that may need a service animal or an emotional support animal, because yours was so destructive that now that landlord's pretty jaded, right? So those are the differences between therapy animals, emotional support animals, and service animals. If you have more questions about that, feel free to ask them in the comments, or take a look at the blog post that I've linked in the description of this video that really breaks it down for you, the laws and all of that. But if you're working as a therapy animal handler team or planning to train your pet as a therapy animal, it's really important to start nailing down these differences now and getting comfortable explaining them to others, because you will run into confusion when you are out and about with your therapy animal or therapy animal in training. Even if you're training your pet as an adventure pet and have no goal to be a therapy animal team, it's still so important to know these differences, because it can help make our community a safer place for people and animals. And that brings me to my next point, which is a great opportunity for us to educate while we're on therapy animal visits about the importance of proper access. Service animals have public access, right? They're allowed to come where the public is, whether that's grocery stores or restaurants. Those are two places that pretty much anywhere in the United States aren't allowed to let pets or emotional support animals in, but service animals are allowed, because they're trained for those specific tasks that help their handlers to navigate the world safely. They're medical equipment. So service animals are welcome everywhere, but therapy animals, emotional support animals, and pets are not. When we bring our therapy animals into spaces like that, because we know that they don't know the difference between a service animal and a therapy animal, we think it'd be fun to hang out with our therapy animal while we're grocery shopping, we're starting to create confusion, disruption, and maybe even danger for those who rely on service animals to perform vital tasks, right? Life-saving tasks. They're medical equipment. You might have a perfectly well-trained therapy animal, but if your friends know that your dog is not a service dog, and they see you bringing your dog to restaurants inside, not just the patio where they're invited, or to grocery stores or other places like movie theaters or wherever it may be that they're not allowed, pets are not allowed, then they're probably going to start doing the same thing. And eventually we get this domino effect of people bringing in pets that are aggressive and cause issues with their animals. Maybe they're just reactive to those service animals, where they bark at them or try to bite at them. These things are not okay. And especially if someone needs to rely on their dog as legitimate medical equipment, we're really endangering not only that dog, but also the handler that needs a service animal. So it's really important that we not only model that good behavior and don't take our therapy animals to places where only service animals are allowed, but also that we talk about that with the people we interact with. Therapy animals are a little different than pets, right? They do get invited into places where an average pet is not, but they get invited. So we want to make sure we're clear with the facility, like I already talked about, what the difference is between a therapy animal and a service animal. And we can also talk about that during our visits if people have questions about how come your dog gets to be here at this baseball game or softball game or at this nursing home or hospital and I can't bring my dog in. Why is that? Well, we can talk to them about the training we've gone through and the permissions that we get. and explain that therapy animals can go some places where pets aren't allowed, but therapy animals are invited. But service animals are the ones that have public access. So again, it's just a really easy opportunity. Since we are in places where you don't commonly see pets, it's a great opportunity to talk about that access and make sure you have an understanding of who qualifies for what, so you can share that with the people you're interacting with. You also want to make sure that when you're on your visits with a therapy animal, that you're advocating for correct interactions with your dog or cat. We do have super friendly dogs and cats, right? That's why they're certified as therapy animals. They probably enjoy strangers. They should enjoy strangers coming into their personal space, right? If they don't, even if they're certified, we probably want to stop visits, because if their animals aren't enjoying it, why are we making them do it? But Cora, my dog that's a therapy dog, is super tolerant of a lot of interactions with children. Maybe some people that have those involuntary reflexes where they grab fur, that sort of thing. It's important for me to explain that Cora is not a normal dog, right? She's not your average pet. I have 2 other pets, 2 other dogs at home, and 2 cats as well that don't enjoy interactions like this. So it's important for us to advocate for proper petting, even if your therapy animal is so chill, which they should be, that they can handle anything. For example, Cora and I were just at our church's block party, and we had a kiddo reach for her tail. Now, Cora can handle kids grabbing her tail. She's okay with it. It's probably not her favorite thing in the world, but she can handle it. But lots of other dogs don't enjoy their tail being grabbed. So it's important to say, let's pet her back or her side, or if she's on her back, pet her belly, because that's a polite place to pet. Cora's okay with that, but a lot of dogs aren't, so it's a good idea to practice on Cora the way that we're going to pet other dogs, right? A super simple way to explain it, to say, hey, my dog's okay with you grabbing your paw, but a lot of dogs really hate their paws being handled, right? There's so many opportunities there to just talk about proper petting, being gentle, and all of that. One of the tricks we used when I was a zookeeper is that we would talk about using a 2-finger touch on our education zoo animals. Because if we use 1 finger, we're poking, and that can get a little violent, right? A whole hand sometimes can be scary, especially for kids that are using it really roughly. But if we focus on 2 fingers and stroking the animal with 2 fingers, that can help kids a lot to gently touch the animal. We can use a whole hand for sure, but that 2-finger touch can be an easy way to help slow down kids that are maybe a little too excited or a little too rough with petting. Again, therapy animals should be trained at such a high level, and they should have the ideal temperament where they're able to handle and bounce back from really quickly with rough handling. But we don't want to encourage rough handling. We want to encourage proper interactions with therapy animals. And we will talk more about how to properly greet pets next week as well. So when you're out and about, you're going to be asked questions. It's important that you're ready to give answers. You want to make sure that if you don't know the difference, first of all, between therapy animals, service animals, and emotional support animals, say that. Don't make up an answer. Don't say the incorrect thing, but then go home, take a look at the blog post we have linked in the description of this video, do a little research on your own so you know the differences and you can explain that to other people. You're helping to prevent misunderstandings and ensuring that all of the animals in our community can perform their roles effectively and safely. It's so important to have this knowledge and to be able to share that with others. That's one of the easiest ways that we can improve our communities and improve the lives of people and animals in our communities. Sure, therapy animal visits are part of that too, right? Getting to love on a therapy animal certainly improves people's days, but sharing that knowledge that you have is also a really easy way to do it. It can help make things safer for everybody. Education is a powerful tool, and you have the opportunity to make a real difference in your community. Remember that every interaction with your pet is training, and every interaction with someone in your community is a chance to educate them on the wonderfulness of therapy animals and the importance of respecting all of the animals that we interact with in our community. If you have any questions about this or about any other topic that you might want to educate the public on, feel free to stop by in the comments and ask your questions or share your experiences about opportunities you've had to educate people about interacting with pets, the differences between our common working animals here in the U.S., or anything else. I always love to hear from you. And remember, you're not just training your therapy animal, you're educating your whole community one interaction at a time. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Training Tip Tuesday. Join me next week where we'll talk about how to properly greet someone else's pet. I'll see you next week Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central.